Hi everybody, how are you all doing? Welcome to my channel another time. It's Mercedes here. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about driving out fear. Fear is something that we've come to realize is a really crippling aspect of our lives. Have you heard this old adage, as they call it? I'm going to read it because I don't want to get it messed up, but it's one that's very familiar and you would have heard it many times before. It says this: God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Now, just as I've started my recording, I'm hearing a neighbour banging away over there, so I hope you won't be hearing what I'm hearing. And children in the background sort of, just having fun. What can you do? I hope you'll be able to hear me. But this is really important to me because I know fear is such a crippling aspect of many people's lives. And there's a way that we can live our lives without having to endure going through fearful episodes and actually being the victim of fear. Today I want to look at 10 ways in which we can drive out fear, developing strategies for dealing with fear. So here goes. Number one, the first thing we need to learn to do when fear grips our lives is that we've got to get our mind in the right order. It's almost like we've got to fix up our mind, because the mind is the place where the fear, the sense of fear, will run amok. It's like a runaway train. And one of the things that we have to do, we must do, is to take control of our thoughts, take control of our mind, bring it back into a place where we are the ones in control. We're not the victim here. We are the victors. It doesn't matter what it is that's taking place. We are the victor and we're not the victim. So the first thing we need to do then is to take control of our thoughts. When our mind is filled with anxiety, there is no way that we can have a clear sense of what's going on. And our mind, our thoughts are jumbled up. Thoughts are just flowing in. There are no boundaries. It's like dread begins to overwhelm us. We begin to think the worst. We begin to feel the worst, even if it's not really as bad as it seems. It's going to seem that way because our thoughts are now running amok. Get our mind positioned in a way that we begin to focus not on those negative thoughts that are coming. And the way to really begin to do that is to create some distance between you and those thoughts. It may be that you could go for a walk. If you enjoy golfing, go play a round of golf. Go for a swim. Allow yourself some time to think, some time to become calm, some time to just take a hold of your thought and begin to look at the issue in hand. Number two, begin to think about things that are positive. Force your thoughts away from the overwhelming, anxious thoughts that are wanting to flood in, and create that space between those thoughts that are negative and the thoughts that you want to think about, positive thoughts, good thoughts of things that have happened to you in the past. Number three, and this is a tough one as well. Number three, face your fears. Yes, I said that. Face your fears. You know, for many of us, we spend many years running away from situations, running away from things that have happened, and we've never actually addressed them. Each time something similar surfaces, we take flight. But there comes a point in our lives when running is no longer an option. It's time to take a hold of that situation. It is time to face that fear, face that situation, and decide, I'm going to run away from you no more. I'm no longer a victim. I am going to be the victor, and I'm going to be victorious over this situation. I remember once being in a lift with somebody that I didn't know, suffered badly with agoraphobia, and the lift stopped working. We were only going to like the fifth floor, but the lift stopped working. And oh my goodness, she began to literally climb the wall. I mean, the fear for her was so real. I felt it for her. It was like all sense of rationality left her. She couldn't think beyond what she was feeling. She couldn't think beyond the fear that was enveloping her mind. If you don't create a sense where you can begin to think about it, create some sort of rational space between you and what you're feeling, it'll overwhelm you. Now, what I would say to her in dealing with that is, okay, it feels bad. It feels overwhelming. But one of the ways of dealing with that and telling yourself, no, I am not the victim of this situation, I am the victor, is to tell yourself, tomorrow I'm going back into that lift. And when I go back into that lift, I'm going to be telling myself that if the lift fails again, I'm going to work through the process of somebody will come. There is a button there. I'm going to press that button. I'm going to pace myself and tell myself somebody will come. The engineer will come. And rather than running away from and lugging shopping up 6 flights of stairwell to get up to your place, get back in that lift and tell yourself positive things about what will happen, and not allow irrational fear to overwhelm your thinking to the point that you never want to get back in that lift again. Go again. Don't let it overwhelm you with irrationality, but put some rational thoughts into it and go back again. So that is number 3, face your fear. Number 4, ask yourself, what is the worst thing that can happen in this scenario of what I'm going through? Really, think about it. You've got to force yourself to think about, what is the worst thing that can happen to me in this? What can I do to make it lesser a horrible experience, or change the trajectory as to where it's going? It could be your health, and you're fearful that it appears to be going in a certain direction. Rather than allowing yourself to be overwhelmed with fear that's going to make it worse, begin to think about, what can I do to make it better? What can I say to that individual to clear the deck? It could be that your marriage appears to be failing. What can I say or do that can make a difference? So the most important part, though, is to hone in on the rationality of that situation. Fear very often has no bounds of rationality. It's just an overwhelming sense of dread and anxiety. But if you can create that space and begin to think about, what is the worst thing that can happen? And when you get to the bottom of that, the very bottom of what the worst of the worst can be, begin to pull up, what can I do? Who can I draw on? What else can I do to make things better? And you'll find that once you begin to do that, you find you're taking ownership of that situation. Dread and anxiety and fear will begin to edge away, and that overwhelming sense of dread is being dealt with in a rational way. You'll find anxiety begins to take backward steps away from you, and strength begins to find a place of growth in you. You will find that you get a better sense of perspectives, a true sense of perspective, when you begin to really think about it in hard terms. Number five, if you knew somebody who was going through something as you're going through, as you're facing, is creating that level of fear in you, what would you say to that person? What would you be telling that person to do? How would you be encouraging that person? Think about that for a moment. Think about what you would say to a friend who's experiencing the kind of level of anxiety or fear or dread or worry that you're going through. Think about that. And maybe it's something you might like to jot down, because it's something that you can actually begin to use for yourself. Make it real for you. Number 6. I introduced a book in an earlier video that I did entitled The Gift of Imperfection by Brené Brown, a well-known psychologist. And it's a very freeing book, because it actually helps you to look at the fact that we cannot be perfect in everything that we do. We can't be perfect in everything. There are areas of our lives that we're just not going to be good at. It could be that in your work that you gave that project the go-ahead, and it's fallen flat. And people are looking at you and thinking, well, you said it would work. Well, it didn't work. And it's not to say that you don't work, and it's not to say that you're no good. It's to say that maybe the resources that you used and the plan and the stages and the progression that you applied didn't work. But it doesn't mean that you're no good and that the idea that you had wasn't a good one. But don't lose your sense of self, and don't try to be perfect in everything that you're doing, because none of us are perfect. Some things that we do, it's just crazy, it's just mad, it's just, are you kidding me? Did you really think that's okay? And we do things that flop sometimes. We do things that just don't work sometimes. It's the nature of life. But it's not that you as a person is a no-go-to place, and that you just give up on yourself, and you never ever want to venture out into making any further suggestion. And every time anybody call on you to maybe organizing something, fear grips your stomach and you tell everybody, no, not me. Try so and so and so, but not me. Go again. Listen, go again. How many times has these great inventors that we learn about, people who have got their business up and running, how many times did they fail before getting it right, getting it just right, and people buying into what they've done? So you owe it to yourself not to allow fear to pull you down. Number 7, instead of sitting, as many people do, in a darkened room, you know, when you feel a sense of loss in maybe what you've gone through, or something that's happened to you that's making you really feel crazily depressed, really, really, really depressed. And very often one of the things that people will do when depressed, a natural thing to do is to shut down. And shut down tends to have an expression of going into a darkened place, don't talk to anybody, taking the phone off the hook, switching off the phone, getting in your space, maybe a darkened space, closing the curtains. And it's saying to the world, I'm shutting you out. I don't want you in my space. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want anybody trying to even say a word to me. And yeah, that won't help you, because I tell you what happens with that. Fear will then have a field day in your mind. It'll kind of load you up with every form of negativity that you can think about. It'll come in with all of his brothers and sisters and cousins and uncles and aunties and grandmother and grandfather, every generation. They'll come in that space with you, and they will overwhelm you no end. And if you're not careful, you will find that you'll begin to edge, if you're that way, you'll begin to edge towards, even if you hadn't thought it before, suicidal thoughts, because fear and its aunties and uncles and everybody else has come into your space, your darkened space. You're better than that. Your life is worth more than that. And, you know, I say that to everybody who's reached that point where they get to that place where fear and feeling worthless has taken a hold of their lives. It is a frightening place because hope goes out the window. And when hope of a better tomorrow is gone, the sense of I need to end it all comes in. Don't do that. That's a lying situation because there is always, always, always hope, hope, hope for a better tomorrow. There is hope. You never know what tomorrow is going to bring. And for many people who thought that way, even thought about ending their lives, and they can say, I'm glad I didn't, because the next day and the next day brought me into a new place, another place, and here I am. Having a sense of fear that brings you into a darkened place, a place where you try to deal with your situation by yourself. It brings you into a place of no man's land. There's no way out. But I tell you what you can do. Force yourself. Open the windows. Let light in. Talk to somebody. Talk to a trusted friend about the fearful place that you're in. Talk to somebody. Don't shut down. Don't close the curtains on yourself. Don't sit in a darkened place and allow fear to grip your heart. Talk to somebody. I've heard it said that a burden shared is a burden halved, and that I've lived it. I know that that's true. I know the times when I've not had money, and I've talked about it, and I've said, look, this is my situation. I've had help. People have helped me. And I would say it may not be money. It may simply that you're feeling overwhelmed and you just feel worthless and fear is gripping you that you can't move forward. Talk to somebody. Talk to somebody, a trusted friend. Talk to somebody again and again and again. It is far better to talk than to sit in a place of isolation and allow fear and all of its friends and aunties to come with you in that room and to steal from you the power of who you are and the gift that you are to somebody else. Because right now, what you may be going through in that sense of fear, it could be when you come out of it, you're going to be able to help somebody else. But if you stay there and you never get through, you will never be able to help anybody. Number 8, something that has really worked for me is to either write it yourself or read it from other people who've gone through, experienced and overcame places of fear, is to begin to write declarations, speak declarations over your situation, over your lives. Speak it. It's very healthy to actually say it out loud. Positive declarations that will really begin to diminish and to fade out the voices of negativity that wants to flood your mind. For me, I find my declaration from scriptures. As you will know, I am a Christian woman, and therefore I find my sense of comfort in reading scripture. And I find that each day when I go to the scriptures, I always find something positive that lift me from the inside. I mean, for instance, when I think about the psalm, just the first verse that says, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." I think about that and I reflect on that a shepherd is a person who knows how to take care of his sheep, or shepherdess, her sheep. He knows everything about each sheep. Very often they will call their sheep by name. They know where to take them into fresh pasture so that they can feed properly. They know that they're easily frightened and won't lead them through difficult places that will cause them stress and distress. Know where the watering places are when they're thirsty or when they have parasites. As a child in the Caribbean, when animals get parasites in the ear, they have to pour in, I think it's things like iodine in the ear, and to get rid of the parasites or any kind of, things that want to form, maybe flies and, ugh, dare I say, creepy crawly things that want to form in the ear, and they get rid of it. And so I think about the shepherd who knows the anks, knows how to feed and how to water and how to separate from bullying, how to protect from predators. So when I think about that, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. I think, wow, that pertains to me. And so I speak that over my life and I declare it and I believe it, and it brings me great comfort. So what does that do? It drives away fears. It allays my fears. It puts away anxieties. It puts away any sense of worry. I mean, I go through things that everybody goes through, paying the bills, um, relationships that may not work well all the time. But I think the Lord is my shepherd and I shall not want, and it pushes away all of my anxieties. So there are lots of positive declarations out there that you can pull up, and each day begin to speak those declarations, and you will find that it will take the place of anxious thoughts. So number 9 is one that I love, is having done all of that. In fact, when you've done something like you've gone into the lift the day after you had that fearful episode, you've gone into the lift trembling, feeling anxious, you've gone into the lift that second time, and you're telling yourself, if it breaks down, I will press that there button, it will send out an emergency call. It may take a while, but the engineer will come. Now, if you've done all of that and you've come out the lift to go shopping again or back up to the 6th floor, reward yourself. Do something that you enjoy. Maybe go shopping for yourself. Go get your hair or your manicure. Do something that you really enjoy, that really makes you feel good. Reward yourself because you've actually overcome. It may be that you've made that phone call and you've made that difficult conversation, something that you knew was going to be tough, but you did it anyway. Reward yourself. It's very important to take stock of what you've done and to reward yourself. Number 10, finally, once you've done all of that, do it all again. Harness what you've done. Harness it. Repeat it again and again and again. And I think if there's one thing that I would say as I close is face your fears. Face your fears. Stop running. Face your fears. Whatever it is, it's not greater than you. Stop running and deal with it. Deal with it. Okay, Mercedes here. And again, I say thank you for joining me. And if you've liked what you've heard today, I'm going to encourage you to go ahead and like and subscribe to my channel as I bring more videos. Mercedes here, over and out.